Hi, I'm Dr. Keith Johnson. Sometimes I don't understand the full picture, as any of us don't. We mortals don't understand God's way of thinking or some of the plans that take place. I don't understand there must be evil in order for there to be good. But in order for us to appreciate good, we have to experience evil. We also have to experience mistakes and failures. In order to be successful, we've got to experience the problems that we create. And the way our greed and our selfishness takes charge, and we decide that's what we want done instead of what we ought to be dealing with the truth. And we don't understand how dealing with the truth is always the best way because we just don't understand. His ways are not our ways. My ways are not his ways. We try to figure out what the best plan is. We override God, then we get in trouble, then we have our failures, and then what do you have to do? You have to get up. You have to work on your failures and straighten them out as a success. But better than that, you have to trust God to take care of your failures and to wipe them out completely so that he can handle your future. And that's not an easy thing to do either. You have to be willing to admit your mistakes with your failures. What happens in the future in the next 10 years could be very exciting for you and for a millionaire and for somebody who's well off. Could be very hard on somebody who's very poor or needs to work their way up and needs to go through steps in order to find the peace that they're looking for. And that doesn't always come. Evil follows good. And as the Bible makes very clearly, the devil is out there to destroy you, to eat us up, to make sure that we fail, to see to it that things don't work. The next 10 years for you could be very, very exciting. Next 10 years for you could be a failure if you're not willing to learn from your problems and work on your success. Major goals of self is the next 10 years. Your future shows you indeed you can create anything you want in this life. They revive your hope for a future far ahead of the present. But if they're not accompanied by smaller ones along the near future, they're not of any use to you because they haven't taught you anything. And having not taught you anything leads you alone not to even learn from the instruction. Most of those kids who said they wanted to become doctors didn't become one. Most of those kids that wanted to be firemen didn't become one. Most of those kids that wanted to be policemen or detectives didn't become one because they never learned from their mistakes, or that sometimes their mistake was that they wanted to be something that they shouldn't be, and it won't help them at all. So the understanding is we're in trouble. We've got problems we've got to deal with, and we've got to figure out how we can take our mistakes and turn them into successes. A few days ago I listened to Sadness as a grown woman who was soon to be evicted from a rented apartment said she had no place to go that night, and I just told you about that. What a problem it is not to deal with life in the future or to realize I've got to do something about tonight. We're so worried about the 5 years in the future and what might give us that we fail to realize we've got a family to take care of, needs to be fed at 6, that needs to go to the store, that needs to get some food, that needs to have a place to sleep that night. That fellow that knocks on our car window asking us for a little guidance, a little help, and a few quarters. Maybe those few quarters could be a big help to them. We don't realize that that night he may have no place to go. So we've got things to worry about. We question the plans. We realize that sometimes the plan is important, not just a fantasy of the future, but what could happen in the next couple hours. And what happens in the next couple hours is very important. Our vision, our understanding of what we want to accomplish in life has a lot to do with the success of what we're trying to do, not only for ourselves, but for people around us. It's like God said, to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and to love your neighbor as you love yourself. Some of us think that loving God is enough, and we don't bother to love God or our neighbor or worry about what's going on around us. We don't realize that what takes place that day is shaping our future. Intentional understanding are colliding with our destiny, and we block it. We strong-willed and determined, selfish, try to get the best out of life. These are the people who wait for nobody to help them. They strategically gather to help the need they've got and use it against themselves. This is the breed of winners that train their emotions to follow their actions and not on the basis of who they are or how to use it. This is the breed of winners that train their emotions to be learning from our mistakes and then to be carrying them out where they need to be fixed and helped and guided. Rarely are people surprised by the turnout of events because every day they take a calculated risk to work on their goal for tomorrow, for tonight, and then for next week, and for where they want to go. And that's why their vision gets straightened out by their desires and their goals. My vision is created by what God wants me to do, and I keep asking Him for guidance. I don't always get it. I don't always feel that I've gotten it right or as quickly as I need it. But I do believe that God gives you that guidance as soon as you need it, when you need it. And you have to believe in that. That's what faith is. Accepting that God knows what He's doing and He wants to take care of us. You need to be that person that's interested in what my goal is. Become the person today who has plans for today, tomorrow, next week, next month, an effort to reach the epitome of the next 3 years, 5 to 10 years. Where am I going and what am I doing right now that gets me to where I'm going in the near future? How do I set myself ahead by believing that God really cares about what's going to happen and that all things work together for good to them that love God? Refuse to let life constantly take you by surprise. Fight to sit on the other side of the street and see it every day. Head towards your most excellent self. Have answers for the whys around you, behavior and circumstances. If you are on a job that you dislike, then let it be a warning that you need to work on something else, or need to work on your education, or you need to work on your future to develop what it is you want to find. Now, as you strategically look on how to get the one you're trying to resonate in your soul, I want to be a dancer, I want to be a singer, I want to be an actor, I want to be rich, I want to be who knows what you want. But you look at that and say, is that honestly what God wants for me? Is that what I want for God? And is that where we're going? And then you take the steps accordingly. You really want to be a doctor? You go to medical school, like it or not. You really want to be a counselor? You go to a counseling school, like it or not. You want to be a good husband? You get married? You're careful about your marriage. You want to get a good relationship? You take time to foster those relationships and make sure they work, and that's not easy done. Permission and validation from someone else never comes. Give it to yourself daily. Here's what I need to do. Here's what I ought to do. Here's where I should go. What if you start by commanding joy into your day and your life as a whole? I will be happy. I will do what I want to do, and I will do what I know I should be doing anyway. Let me assure you that you would lose your temper less often if you did. You'd be less confused, less discouraged, less frustrated, intentionally smiling at that person who gets on your nerves, and watch as your relationship evolves into something pleasurable. Deliberately give it to the poor, even while you see that you don't have much money to give. Let the poor Get some help from you. Do what you can to be of service and watch your life get better because you've learned from your mistakes. And through a rough patch in your financial life, suddenly you start to prosper. It works. Give, and it shall be given you. It's a promise from God. It's written right up there in the book. Understand, if you give, it shall be given you. The law of giving and receiving will not let you down.